With today being Mother's Day, it's time to talk about Undercover Mom from the Loud House and Away Game from the Casagrandes. Two focusing on Rita and Rosa looking out for Luna, Lenny, Yuan, while in the Casagrandes, Ronnie Ann, and Bobby. Let me tell you, as much as I try to appreciate the good qualities of these characters, it doesn't change the fact that the finalization and development that they get in the later seasons just overshadows basically these episodes. And believe me, I understand that you can't be able to look at these episodes as negative episodes due to the bad episodes, but as far as I'm concerned, whenever I watch this episode along with the Casagrandes episode, they tried to at least have some continuation with the Loud House episode taking place in Season 5, while the Casagrandes centers around Ryan being in a big city, while in this, she is focusing on hanging out with her dad. The plot of Undercover Mom is that Rita needs to be in Undercover to hang out with her starters, Lenny, Luna, and Luann. And considering that she is working on a column, mainly when it comes to newspapers, like writing something on a newspaper, I'm just not an expert on newspapers or how they work, but what Rita is doing is trying to set out a better example on just trying to be a good parent. And considering that this is taking inspiration from White and Ron, I can totally understand that Rita is trying to be a good parent, but at the same time, not doing a good job on being not a bad parent. As for the Away Game, let me tell you, with Rosa being the main character, even if Maria should have been the main character, I need to be perfectly honest. Even if I'm mostly disappointed that Maria never had an episode of her own, it doesn't change the fact that she isn't being overprotective, since that she's being a much more nicer and somewhat sympathetic mother compared to Rita. Like, I understand that Rita can sometimes be sympathetic, but when it comes to Maria focusing on her kids hanging out with her divorced husband, I honestly felt like that she was just being okay with it because she doesn't have grudges towards her husband, Arturo's. When it comes to Rosa, considering that she's the character who has security cameras that has been revealed at the end of this show, and the fact that she's taking the mother figure a lot more seriously compared to Maria and maybe more than Frita, I have to be perfectly honest. She is somewhat the most realistic character, even when it came to the cartoon antics in this episode. But at the same time, in comparison to the Loud House, Ryan and Bobby would still be able to live with the Casagrandes and not living with their father. Because as far as I'm concerned, the more I think about it, and even though that it's a shame that Arturo didn't get much attention, just in the same way as Maria, it's not like that what they're doing with Arturo in this show is not really at the surface when it came to the developments. Like, granted, when it comes to the final episodes of Season 3, when it centers around the pet that he took from his vacation or something, that is something that's probably going to be discussed later down the line involving Cartoon Crisis 3. But at the same time, when it comes to Arturo, you can instantly tell that he isn't the type of father who would take the kids away from their mother or grandmother in this case. When it comes to Rita in Undercover Mom, considering that she really wants to be well known when it comes to her articles that she writes on the newspaper, I really have to admit that her motivations in this episode is a lot more important, knowing full well that she is dealing with siblings that are going to be separated from each other. And considering that Lori have been separated from the Louds family, well, not completely, but mainly moving into college, all the while that Lenny, Luna, and Luann are the oldest in the Lau family in season 5 onward. Now granted, it's weird and difficult to believe that Rita, disguised as Brita, manages to go through the school system, but considering that in one of the worst episodes where it centers around the characters being disguised and people just don't know the difference, I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. So the reason why I'm giving this a pass is mainly the fact that the disguise in front of many people isn't really much of a big deal, considering that the main focus is Rita being in disguise in front of Luann, Luna, and Lenny. Though then again, when it comes to Lenny having different love interests as the series progressed, I'm pretty sure that what Rita has been listening to, I'm pretty sure that she can tell that Lenny can't be able to make up her mind even if she doesn't have one. I mean, granted, I understand that Rita is just trying to keep an eye on Lenny, Luna, and Luann, but at the same time, it just really shows that she's just trying to be the mother part of an arc that people will recognize and support her. But for me personally, this is basically Rita being Rita, and this is one of the only episodes I ever talk about Rita's character. When it comes to Rosa in Away Game, the similarities of 2 episodes just centered around Rita getting used to becoming a teenager by being in the disguise as Britta, while Rosa is trying to do the activities of what Ryan and Bobby does, considering that that's what Arturo's did ever since Bobby and Ryan has been spending time with him during the weekend. You know, considering that Rosa is the type of character that isn't into anything of what her grandchildren are into, all the while Rita is doing a good job into getting used as becoming a teenager, even if it's literally for 1 episode and mainly 1 day at school. It kind of sums up onto why that no matter how much Rosa tries, it doesn't change the fact that she is trying way too hard. Like, Rita is trying hard, but not in the same levels as Rosa in this episode. You know, if Rosa ever was in disguise just like Rita is, I can guarantee you that it would be difficult to believe, other than having a terrible joke involving Bobby not seeing Rosa, and then when Rosa takes off her disguise, Bobby would be completely in shock, but not in the same way as Ryan, as she would think that Rosa impersonating a different person just transformed into Rosa. Seriously, what did they do to you, Bobby? You were so not brainless in the beginning, and I find it hard to believe that Chloe is still in a relationship with you. Though in all seriousness, when it comes to comparing Luna, Lenny, and Luann with Ryan and Bobby, they're basically on the same level. Granted, it doesn't change the fact that Bobby has been flanderized, but when it came to the Loud House episode, it really shows that the characters involving Luna, Luann, and Lenny are getting development in some other capacity. Like, in the Casagrandes episode, it was really obvious that Ryan and Bobby are just hanging out with their father. So when it comes to this scenario, the motivations that Rita is dealing with makes sense onto why that she needs to be in Undercover in order to see more of her daughters. Though then again, Rosa is the only parent figure or mother figure in the Casagrandes, while the other parents aren't doing their job completely. Let me tell you, the more I think about the Casagrandes and after rewatching all the episodes that involves Rosa, all I can think of is maybe there's a reason onto why Maria isn't that much of a parent compared to the multiple parents's that we've seen from both shows. And when it comes to Sergio helping out Rosa, it really shows that this is basically the only good element involving Sojio's character, even though that what he does as the series continues, it's really difficult to take anything seriously involving the qualities of Sojio. Though then again, Rosa really needed backup, and considering that Maria and Hector isn't helping her, I guess Sojio is literally the only alternative that she has. Let's talk about the second half of the episode. Well, Rita goes to her house to have dinner, all the while Rosa is going to find some solutions to break any electricity in Arturo's apartment in order for Bobby and Ryan to come back to her place. You know, considering that the Loud siblings have went through disguises multiple times, but most importantly in CoverGirl, well, their punishment is to impersonate their relatives in front of so many people, I can only imagine of what Rita's situation would have been like if she was Rita the entire time, or for mainly for the next several months, while being in Undercover while being with Luna, Lenny, and Luann. If you ask me, I don't even know what's difficult. Like, I would say that Rita is a hypocrite, but at the same time, whole reasonings on being in disguise makes more sense compared to what the Loud siblings did in CoverGirls. When it comes to Rosa, let me tell you, it was bound to happen. Like, you can say the same thing when it comes to Undercover Mom, but let me tell you, Rosa wouldn't be able to hide anywhere, knowing full well that even if her plan mostly backfired due to Sojio not looking out, I don't even think that there was ever a chance that she would ever escape and continue on with this for as long as she can. Granted, I could be wrong, but at the same time, the ending of this is honestly a really good ending. When it comes to Undercover Mom, they still have the down-to-earth elements, regardless of the fantasy elements that this season has as it progressed. Let me tell you, it's really obvious that Luna, Luann, and Lenny would not be able to forgive Rita after what happened, after Rita is out of her disguise. And considering that Luann, Luna, and maybe Lenny have gained development when it comes to their independence, it kind of shows of how much that the characters are separating from each other. But when it comes to the negative aspects of it, I mostly focus on the characters a lot too much. Like, believe me when I say this, when it came to my Lincoln Lounge video, I maybe been a little too critical, but at the same time, when it comes to the relationships of siblings, it's mainly what I was referring to. So, I guess that once I get into that video in the near future, not really near future, but possible near future, I might discuss the relationships of the siblings and the fact that those centered episodes might be okay for what they are, but at the same time, we just miss out the sibling relationships of the earlier seasons. But at the same time, when it came to Rita moving forward with it, I can guarantee you that that's the positive that I have, that is somewhat an improvement, knowing that the characters are getting slight developments, but at the same time, if there was ever going to be an ending involving the Loud House in the future, anytime soon, then I'm not even sure what to expect. But believe me when I say this, the ending of these two episodes sums up a lot of what Rosa and Rita are capable of, even though that Rosa is gonna be the only parent that actually acts like a parent. Even though that Rita may act like a parent now and then, but when it comes to Rosa, she's basically the parents of all parents in the Casagrandes. And Rita, when it comes to the articles that she wrote, I have to admit that when Luna, Luann, and Lenny read the articles, it's the superior ending. Like, it's really amazing to think that the sisters are willing to forgive Rita after reading the new article, after the old article that Rita was planning didn't turn out well for her after the disguise wore off. And I have to admit, considering that this carries on into the future, it really shows that this is one of the only elements where the characters don't break any, where the characters don't have any development afterwards. Though then again, I could be wrong, but let's just hope that the series can progress with this kind of development, even though that the other developments that they had were instantly scrapped. While the away game isn't superior, I can say that it's still a good episode for what it is. At the same time, it kind of sums up a lot onto why the other characters, even if it's mostly a disappointment towards Maria, aren't being mostly the parent figure in the Casagrandes. Granted, I understand that there are some occasions where the parents do act like parents, but considering that I've watched the later seasons, it's really impossible to take these characters seriously, and it's honestly shocking to think that Rosa ended up being the only character that actually stays as an actual parent, that takes her job as a parent seriously. Who am I kidding? Every single character is flanderized, and it's difficult to find a character who isn't. So with that out of the way, Undercover Mom gets an 8 out of 10, while Away Game gets a 7 out of 10. Have yourself a happy Mother's Day.